Hey, what's good, people? This is episode 69. This is Sports Debate Tuesday. That's my boy Bobby McGee, and the episode starts right now. Guess who's back? Back again. Guess who's back? I'm clean shaven. Guess who's back? Mirror in the back. My boy's black. That's a fact. That's half fact. I don't know. Whatever. Okay. All right. So what's up, people? This is episode 69. He thinks he's funny. Episode 69. This is Sports Debate Tuesday, along with my man Rob. Keep it McLean. I'm your host with the most. I'm Jason DeBillius. What's good, Rob? First of all, before we get into all this.
What's good? Everything's great.
Yep, handling yours, right? Just like a real trigger should. And if you do some time, homie, I'm still all good. So, hey, we got a little bit to talk about. You know, UFC was this weekend. It was almost a gala evening with the all-star cast of rock star, movie stars, icons, important people, special people that showed up to the event. I think the gate was like 60 million, which is ridiculous. I mean, that has to be something, even for Vegas, that has to be something beyond compare. So we're going to talk a little bit about the UFC, of course, Conor McGregor. We got two topics for to shame or not to shame this week, ladies and gentlemen, not just one. Of course, got the Olympics coming up. Volleyball's our wheelhouse. Rob's uncomfortable subject, but that's what I do. I make Rob uncomfortable every now and then, and he takes it like a man. But first things first. Rob, we go to the NBA. Rob, we go to the Greek Freak. Rob, we go to the Milwaukee Bucks finally winning their first finals game. This against the Suns, no less. Greek Freak, second game with 40 points. 40, let's take a look at it. 40, 13 and 6, not bad. 13 rebounds, 6, whatever. And we'll get into some of his percentages later. But the question, Rob, the debate question is, are they back or are they still in trouble?
So for me, I think the Bucks are still in trouble. I think they're better off than being down 3-0, but at the end of the day, they played probably their best basketball. Offensively, I've seen in a long time. Nobody really were taking too many shots and missing too many shots. Drew Holiday had a great game, but they still won by 20 points. And, the Suns are pretty in there with Devin Booker scoring 10 points and Chris Paul not having a great game. So I don't expect to see that 2 games in a row, whether it's Devin Booker having a bad game or Chris Paul having a bad game. We've seen that before, even last series, when they both had tough games against the Clippers. They came back and they had a tough-fought game, but they won. They handily won that game against a tough playoff team. So the way I see it is this game 4 is for the series right now. If Phoenix can win this one game on the road, they are going to win this series, whether it's in 7, 6, 5, whatever, but they will win this series. If they do not win this game, it's a toss-up. So I just think that the Bucks are as much in trouble as they were last game, but there's light at the end of the tunnel, so good on them. They got to play another fantastic game, but that's the type of basketball we wanted to see when we're talking about a defensive-minded Bucks team that's working on the fast break and has some good shooters around them. So that's what we want to see when we're talking about a finals game. So I think the Bucks still have a little bit of room to work, but they have one game closer to evening up the series. That's important.
Rob, it's weird because it's a weird question. I mean, I pose this question and we like to do a lot of stuff off script, and I guess I'm going to answer it off script because I don't think, if our hand's forced to choose one or the other, it's difficult because both things are true. I think the Bucks are back and they're still in trouble. I think I picked the Suns to win this 4-1. I thought the Bucks were not going to get swept. I thought they were too good. But at the same time, where styles make matchups and where I thought where even the Bucks were playing their best game, if the Suns were playing their best game, that might be a different story. This is a 20-point victory, but I think it really ended that way when you're down by like 15 with a couple of minutes left. That's just how things kind of end. The Suns, like you said, there's the biggest lurking variable is the Suns didn't play particularly well this game. I mean, they're a pretty decent 3-point shooting team. I think they shot 19 for 31 from downtown. The Bucks shot 14 for 36. So that's not, if you come into the game, Middleton's a baller, and they got some sharpshooters, but at the end of the day, you always think the Suns are going to shoot better from the perimeter and outside, and I can only say if the Suns play another game like this and the Bucks play another game like that, it can go 4-2. But I'm still picking the Suns to win. I still think so I guess if I had to lean, if someone put a gun on my head to force one or the other, on this debate show where we're looking for something to disagree on, where I agree with you that they're in trouble. It took this effort from Giannis, and it took for the lack thereof for the Suns to have for this game to happen. And if that happens one more time in this series, maybe I'm wrong about 4-2, but I don't see the Suns performing this poorly 4 out of 7 times, and I don't see the Bucks sustaining this performance 4 out of 7 times. And in order for them to win, we both agree that both of those things have to happen 4 out of 7 times, right?
Yeah. I mean, also, this is the first time they're in Milwaukee. Not ever, but they very rarely would play in Milwaukee with the Phoenix Suns. So, and Milwaukee is a very, very tough place to play in. So, I give them props.
Did you see that party atmosphere?
Right.
You got.
But yeah, that's just what it is. It's just a different environment to play in. So we'll see how they adjust the next game. But again, they still have, even if they lose this next game, they still have 3 games to play their best basketball and 2 games coming at home. So I don't see the Suns having much issue with where they're at right now. They just got to really hunker down and see if they could steal a game on the road.
Yeah, I see that. Big improvement at the free throw line for Giannis, right? 13 to 17, that's 76 point something percent. At least off my head, that's what it is. Actually, no, look at the stat, 76.5. So my math is good, Rob. What I didn't know about basketball, I guess I should have known, there's an actual 10 seconds to shoot the free throw. They don't actually have a clock to count it. And I guess the reason why I found out the hard way is he got a 10-second violation. And I think in last year's playoffs in the bubble. And that's when I picked it up. And I was like, really? Wow. I thought there was no time limit. You just shoot. And this is probably why, everyone keeps counting. You notice the free throw, when he's at the free throw line, you hear the crowd, at least the Phoenix crowd, counting up or whatever. And I guess that's it. So, but good effort by them. He had consecutive 40-point double-doubles, which only Shaquille O'Neal and LeBron James have had in the playoffs, consecutive 40-point double-doubles, both in which Shaq won and LeBron won. He also has, I think there was a tweet sent out by the NBA saying at least 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists through 3 quarters on ESPN, and only Shaquille O'Neal and Michael Jordan and LeBron have done that. So he's like, I think Kobe. So I think he's the 5th. And I believe all 4 of those people won. So he's been shooting 59% from the line at home this year. Not very good. You like that? No, I don't. 50% on the road, and these are dwindling numbers because he's always been somewhere in the low 60s. And you don't want your center. You don't want to hack a Shaq, right, in the playoffs. So the thing I've always liked about Giannis and that divides him from some of these other guys, these other big men, these dominant big men. And I hate using the word dominant big men where big men can't hit the freaking free throws. And that's it, the free throws, right? I mean, this is why Kareem should be ahead in this conversation above all these guys. The man hit his free throws, especially in the playoffs. Shaquille O'Neal, one of the worst free throw shooters. I think his free throw percentage goes up in the playoffs, maybe 5 points, and this and that. So I don't know. So who wins tonight? This is our Tuesday episode. So who?
I got the Suns tonight. Yeah, I got the Suns for sure.
And then back in deep, and that's why I said they're in trouble, because I think the Suns are going to win. And 3-1 is the very the textbook definition of deep doo doo.
Right. But and like I always go like this, like I want the Bucks to win because I think this could be a great series, and I would love to see where the Suns could get pushed to. But at the end of the day, I still think even if it goes to 7, the Suns are gonna pull it out.
Yeah.
So
Before we move on to our next subject, one more question: Has the injuries for these star and these key players or these players that supposedly move the NBA needle, had the injuries made the playoffs more exciting, or do you think just
oh
people just miss those
absolutely.
guys?
But I don't wanna I wouldn't want to it's made it more exciting. It's like double-edged sword. It's made it more exciting, but it's not something that you can continue to do. You can't build your league on superstars and then when the time comes that they're there to perform and to make the most money for everyone because and the NBA makes the most money in the playoffs. You could say what you want about the season, but they make all that money in the playoffs. So you
Mm,
want those star players to be there involved with those top teams at the end. So has it made it more exciting? Yes, but for the average fan, for the diehard, the person who's really there each and every day, they want to see great basketball, sure, but also the great players play great basketball. So I just feel it's not something that's sustainable. They have to figure out a way to keep their best players in the court and have that young talent come up. And then hey, if you need to expand and make another team or start packing teams down in the G League, that's a good problem to have. But a bad problem to have is having your superstar players getting injured and then all your club's money that you put to them goes nowhere. So
hmm.
that's a bad problem to have. The good problem is too much talent around, and the league can make that happen. You
I
know.
agree. Yep. Well said, Rob. I had so much to say after that, but for some reason, you hit a point, and boom, we leaving it at that, and we move on. We'll revisit that in a quick question, but for now, let's move on to mixed martial arts. Okay. UFC 264, highly anticipated. I, as an MMA purist, did not let that dismiss the fact that there were pretty few pretty good fight nights and leading up to particularly at the main event. So I really enjoyed those going all the way up to this built up moment. It was hyped and I thought it lived up to the hype even though the ending was not a lot of what a lot of people wanted, right? So Rob, we move on to mixed martial arts. We move on to the UFC 264. Dustin Poirier, the diamond in the rough, if you will, defeated. He's the number one contender right now. Defeated number 5 contender Conor McGregor via TKO via doctor stoppage. So after the match, there was still some bad blood that brings new meaning to the term personal, and we'll revisit that on to shame or not to shame. But let's get to the actual logistics of matchmaking. Rob, will there be a fourth match with Conor McGregor? And if not, right away, what's next for Conor McGregor and what's next for Dustin Poirier?
I had like an idea of what I was going to say at first, but now that I think about it, I really don't think there's going to be a fourth match. Um, how that the second match ended, how this one's ending, I just really don't feel like there's that much push for it anymore. They were kind of this is like the tail end of that, bad blood. I think as a Connor fan when he first came in, I think everybody's just kind of getting tired of the antics. You have to perform at your very best every time and to dominate people to be able to do the things that he was doing earlier on. And I think he's just not at his peak as his best, whether it's physically or mentally. Um, and so it's just disappointing to watch. So I wouldn't want to see a fourth match. I think that Connor needs to start working his way back up the rankings and fighting other fighters, not just picking the fights that he feels that he has a better chance at, or he creates uh, some sort of clout by, talking bad about somebody. He needs to start getting back into the game the right way. Because it shows, he's not a high level fighter anymore. He might have high level moments, but he's not a high level fighter. Um, and so I don't think there should be a fourth fight. And I think moving forward, Connor's got to start, picking off some of the young guys and working his way back up. And Dustin, man, I mean, hey, who wouldn't want to see Dustin and Oliveira? I think that would be a wonderful, nice, easy little matchup. And I love this division right now because Oliveira has all these guys just sitting there ready to fight. Maybe not championship material, maybe not that peak championship material, whether it's Gaethje, Poirier, all these guys that are sitting there. But yeah, it's a nice division for the champion to start picking off some guys. So I'm ready to see that.
So who's next for Connor before I go?
I don't know, man. I think he's got to work on his foot first. But
Think Diaz waits around for that one?
maybe. I don't know, man. Maybe Kyron retires. Maybe Connor's done after this. That's a serious injury. That's a
Oh
serious
man, I
injury.
guess before I say what I'm gonna say, right? I'll start by saying what you finished. His injury notwithstanding, it's really hard to get out of bed when you have $100 million. You know,
And a
it's
broken
just,
ankle
it's just. I mean, we'll be training volleyball, yes, for fun, right? We're bringing a
for
film crew,
fun.
a couple of drones. um, McKibbins, we love you, so we're not saying nothing about that. All right, just so don't be so sensitive. So all right, so now I'll start saying by what I'm saying. There are three kinds of Connor fans. There's the casuals that are like, oh my God, this guy talks the game and backs it up. There are people who watch other sports but watch the UFC that knows that him winning is good for the sport and then moves the needle. And then there's this group of diehards that if Connor like shit on someone's head and punched the old dude in the face, they defend him tooth and nail. They'll be like the old guy deserved it or what the old guy do. And those are the ones, oh my God, I wish I didn't have to freaking deal with, because if I were a guy who's been watching MMA as long as I have, and I would say around 17 years, pretty much since Tough One. Tough One got me engaged. Then I started watching retrospective matches, the Gracie's UFC 1 or whatever. I was saying the whole time, when he moves to 155, he's going to have a problem. He's going to run into fighters whose reach advantage is almost his. And you know more than anyone, Rob, it's not how long your arms are, your wingspan is, but if you can use it, if you know how to use it. Connor knows how to use it. He's
Yeah.
5'9" with a 6'2" wingspan. And I knew you faced Chad Mendez, 67 inches to 74. Jose Aldo, 68 inches to 74. You like that? Nah, I don't like that either, you know? And the only fighters who have actually given him problems are fighters that are left-handed. It's Nate Diaz and Dustin Poirier. And fighters whose reach, wingspan qualify as close enough. Khabib's is 70, right? And Dustin Poirier is 70. And Nate Diaz is 76. So I do want Conor to fight. I want him to fight Nate Diaz. They will never ever give him Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson right now just lost 2 in a row, and he's chomping at the bit. And he would walk through fire to have that match with McGregor. I'd like them to fight McGregor because I want Fergie to have the payday. You know, as far as Fergie won 11 matches in a row before he lost those 2. Okay. Conor doesn't want those matches. He wants Ferguson as the lowest ranked fighter. Maybe he wants Gaethje because he knows Gaethje is one to stand and not want to wrestle him. So I would like to see him fight Justin Gaethje, Chandler. That might not happen either because Chandler's wrestling is ridiculous. Or Diaz.
Mm-hmm.
Now Dustin Poirier, there's only one fight to make here, and that's Charles Oliveira. The fans want that fight. The UFC wants that fight. The casuals, if Conor gave a shit about anybody but himself, he should have been like, Dustin deserved this. Guys, watch that match. Watch that match because I'll be back and I'll want to fight the winner of that. So he
Right.
could have put himself in a situation where he could still make it about himself and still put the UFC up. You know, but he didn't do that. And the problem is when you have this one-man investment and the one man don't feel like fighting, then the whole company is prisoner to that one man. And Rob, you know, I know I'm going a little long here and I'm sorry about that, but we've seen that. He won the title at 145, jumped the line, right? Fought Eddie Alvarez, who's by the way, whose wingspan is also 68 inches. So right champion, right time, you know what I'm saying? And won. By the way, his only win at 155, okay? He split with Nate Diaz at 170. He fought Donald Cerrone at 170. So his 3 losses are Khabib by mauling. I won't even call that by submission, by mauling, okay? Because Khabib has this way of making you give up 2 rounds before you tap out and say uncle. Dustin Poirier, who ate his best shots, and came and gave and pieced him up at in the second round, and Poirier again, where I don't know if the ankle was fractured by the check kick, even though that kick. If you remember, did they show you the replay? The kick hit the patella, man. That's nasty. That's nasty. When when you go shin to patella, he was kicking too high to begin with. He was trying to imitate Dustin Poirier, and Dustin Poirier was doing calf kicks. And that's different because that calf kicks, man, that just cuts off. You can't feel your foot if you get kicked by one or two of those the right way. So for Conor, he's got more matches because one way or another, everyone's still going to pay to see him fight. He's lost 3 in a row, but he's still box office. He's still the biggest attraction. He could fight actor Jeremy Piven, all right? And I'm like, okay, just make sure Piven doesn't win, all right? Yeah, so next matchup for me, Poirier versus Oliveira, and I'd love to see Conor versus Tony, but if they're looking for box office, go to Gaethje, because Gaethje has won Gaethje has only fought, I think, 5 times in the UFC and has won 7 bonuses. He's won 7 bonuses in 5 fights. That's box office. So...
yeah, he does the most.
What was your favorite match in the prelims of the main card? Actually, I want to put the main card up first. Mine is a prelim, but I'm only putting the main card up because I have a feeling I know what yours is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, mine has to be O'Malley. That was just like the most technical beatdown of somebody. And again, that guy might not be on his level, but
Right.
you know, he took more beatings the best way. That I've seen from a lot of people. Like he was straight up walking through a lot of things still. I just would love to have seen what he would do if he would throw a bit more. You know, I think he kind of was trying to test O'Malley in the beginning and didn't really test him after. But, you know, definitely a warrior, that guy. But, man, I've never seen somebody's face look one way before a fight and then literally look something completely different.
Only in the
It
movies,
literally looked
man.
like he aged. It looked like he aged.
Only in the
It
movies,
looked like he
dude.
aged.
Only in the Rocky
That's crazy.
movies, like against Drago, against like Apollo Creed, that second fight where he's just... Remember the 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, and he's just leading with his face? That's something you only see in movies. That was crazy. So my favorite fight, and of course I'm a prisoner of the moment, and it's still under everybody's radar. This guy right here, Carlos Condit, decision loss to Max Griffin. I don't think he's still far removed from like any championship picture, and this is not a win, this is a loss, but I'm glad that he showed that he can get in there, he can still scrap. Max Griffin hits really, really hard, and he ate some shots, so a lot of people thought that he's past his prime, and maybe he is, but I think for the fighters that still want to fight, you want to make sure they don't get hurt, and I like that he was in there. And for those of you that are new to the UFC or new to MMA, man, watch his match against Robbie Lawler. That was like match of the year, a 5-round fight with Robbie Lawler that could have went either way. Watch some of his fights in WEC. You know, watch his fight with Nick Diaz, highly technical 5-round match. At the time, he's 32-14. 29 of his 32 wins are stoppages. So, I mean, if he gets a decision, give him come on, give the guy a break. Give the guy a pass, all right? So hey, good event. Looking forward to the next one. You know, we got a whole bunch coming up in the end of July. I think 3 shows in a row. So, all right, so let's move on to beach volleyball. And why are we doing this? We're doing this because it's our wheel house. All right, so we have the Olympics around the corner, but we have one big tournament, a 4-star, which is like a de facto 5-star in Stade, Switzerland. The winners were De Groot. Were they the Netherlands? De Groot, and I'll figure it out. Yeah, the Dutch actually beat Qatar in the finals. Qatar actually beat the Russians, Stoyanovsky and Koreshnikov. So big win for them. And the women's finals were all finals. Agatha and Duda against Rebecca and Anna Patricia. And the Canadians salvaged the bronze, beating our girl, Tina Gradina, and Anastasia from Latvia, who are also going to the Olympics. So, Rob, the question is, seeing this tournament going to the Olympics, have you seen anything that might change going into the Olympics? So what have you seen that might change going to the Olympics based on this tournament, and what have you seen that in your estimation that's going to stay the same? I'll go first. All right. Here's what I see that stays the same. Qatar is still a medal round contender. Qatar is still going to be there at the end. Qatar, a big win over the Russians, and they played Molensorum tough to the belt. One of those matches were 2-point losses, I think 22-20, 21-19, and they're figuring people out as we go, and their training regimen is private. They're not doing a lot of training groups, and they stayed the same. What's changed is that the women, where it seemed like a 2-horse race with the Canadians and the Americans, right? 1 and 1A. The Brazilians reminded everybody exactly who the hell they were. Who the hell did we think we are? This is who we think we are. Agatha and Dudu, I'm telling you, Duda is not Dudu, okay? Rebecca, that girl gets some rice, gets some sushi. She's happy, she's stuffed. The other girl's longer and leaner. And that was an all-Brazil finals. And none of us would be surprised to see an all-Brazil finals coming too. What's also changed is that Latvia showed everybody that winning, their style of playing is not a fluke. They showed that they're just as good as everybody else. They belong on the map, and everything they've done is preparation to the Olympics. So there's my stay the same. The Qatar, Molensorum showed that they're a little bit vulnerable when they're not playing their best game. So in other words, they can't cruise. I thought 2 years ago, I thought they can cruise and win, but not. They showed everybody they can't. So that's, to me, that's what stayed the same. That's what's changed. Rob, the floor is yours, my man.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go too far off that sentiment. I think that the biggest change for me would be the women's, is that I think it's wide open. I think this is going to be one of the more exciting events probably at the Olympics, where you got maybe 14, 10 teams that really could make a run at a medal. And that means there's going to be 2 or 3 per pool, that there's going to be some amazing games in that first round. So, yeah, I think I couldn't even tell you who's going to be. I think, it's going to be one of those 3 teams, one of the American, Brazilian, and Canadian teams. But I think there's going to be a lot of, it's up in the air.
How about the Aussies, right?
Yeah, Australians. You have the Swiss. You have
Kolominov, the Russians, yeah.
The Russians, yeah. You have Latvia, right there. Hungary ready. You have the American team, the young American team. You have a lot
Slays.
and I haven't even mentioned a lot of teams that have been very, very successful. The Spanish team that we were talking about earlier. There's a lot of teams.
Czech team is well coached.
Very well coached. So I just think that it's wide open. Now, talking about the men's, I think it's a little bit more structured, where Molensorum, they're in the winner's seat. If they just play their best ball, they really only got 5 matches till the end. After the pool play. And then, I think from there out, it's just going to be a dogfight. You got these, you got the older teams, you got some younger teams. And over this last year, I think the men's especially, the game has just exploded to something different. So is it going to be a loosely refereed game, and you're going to see a lot of jump sets? Is everybody going to kind of be a little bit more technical and try to side out a higher percentage? We really don't know. Most of the tournaments we've been seeing, even our, Cancun was one of the biggest chance for all those teams to see each other, and that was on deep sand, which we might not see a lot of deep sand play.
Swirly wind, yeah.
Yeah, or that type of wind, So I think it's just a big toss-up, when it comes to the men's. The women's, a little bit more everybody being competitive. The men, I think it's going to be a couple of upsets here and there, and then you're going to have some big teams playing each other a lot earlier in that round of 16 than you expect. It's going to be a fun Olympics.
It is going to be a fun Olympics. I think the refs, as far as the ref looseness is concerned, I think the refs already have this unofficial agreement. If your hands are high, they'll forgive spin a little bit. So if your hands are high, they'll call a double as a double. If you take it low and up, then it has to be spinless. Then it has to be immaculate. So I think you're going to see them judge spin about how it's supposed to be done, how the ball comes in. You know, because a
Yeah.
lot of people in the South Bay think it's how it comes out, because they spent 10 years learning how to catch and throw a ball, and and I'm not trying to sound all disrespectful. Calm down, okay? You spent 10 years learning how to do it that way. That's your way, and that's how the leagues you play in mediate the rules. But I think as far as the people think there's only one way to set the ball, really needs to get over themselves, really, and
Yeah.
take a trip somewhere, get over yourself. You know, I don't even, I'm just going to say it a third time and leave it at that. Get over yourselves, So really excited about the men's. I expect to see the Russians at the end. The Czech team, you said, had one of the best 5 coaches in the world for the women. You just never know, man. The women's my wide. Are you more excited about the women than the men, or is it just an equal thing, or am I just a prisoner of the moment?
I'm much more excited about the women than the men, but I think the men's game for me is more exciting.
Right.
Just because I play that game, but I competition wise, talking about like who's gonna play who and like the type, like how the game, like how tight the games are gonna be, and the competition and the effort and the hustle and all that is gonna
Mm.
be. Sometimes it doesn't show up in the men's game a little on the earlier games unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yep.
But when you're in that when you got to get out of pool, you're playing third set games. When I think that's gonna happen a lot on the women's circuit. So.
Yeah.
The
Isn't it
men, the
crazy?
men might be a little bit more two O's here and there. So
It's crazy because for the women, you wouldn't be surprised to see because it's so open. For the men, you would be surprised to not see Mullen Sorum in the final four or the finals.
right.
That would be a
Oh,
surprise. That would be a monumental upset. It wouldn't be crazy to actually see Team Slays face the Americans in the semis or the finals, depending on how the pool situation goes or whatever. So, very very excited about that, and I'm glad we talked about it because I think the next time we meet up, we're going to be talking about the Olympics when it's over. We got a lot of stuff to do, and I'm definitely going to try to podcast on a road, just trying to figure out the logistics. I mean, Rob, I'm a freaking moron when it comes to this technical stuff. This is why we miss Miranda. All right.
no worries.
So that wraps up the Olympics. That wraps up beach volleyball for now. Big up to the Wapaka winners. Sorry about that. Big up to Evan Corey, Logan Weber. It's another gold series under their belt, and good luck. And Logan Weber, you need to get your behind on the podcast, okay? Because you knew me 3 years ago. You better know me now, boy. Okay, we're gonna settle up. Kristen Nuss, Taryn Cloth, they were my pick to win the whole thing. And if you don't know, now you know. They just keep on winning. They just keep on trucking. So congratulations to them. And those 3 bad mofos, man, that won grass threes. Micah Maha and the Worsleys, man. Just first the Pottstown Rumble, then this. So big up on the regional scene, and I hope to see many, if not all of you, in Atlantic City. But for now, our favorite subject, or my favorite subject, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you to shame or not to shame.
Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame.
Okay, let's do that. Let's stop our clock. Let's push A. And we are in the house. What's up, Bobby McGee? There it is.
What's happening?
Hey, Bob, we got 2 to shame or not to shames, okay? We got 60 seconds, a whole minute each, so let's use it. To shame or not to shame, Conor McGregor's antics before and after the match at UFC 264. Is that shame or is that part of the game? The floor is yours, Rob.
Yeah. So, and I was saying this before, but originally, those antics are okay because you feel like that's an extension of his character, and one doesn't come without the other, and that could be forgive if he's, does an amazing thing, in front of us that we all want to see. But at the end of the day, now he's using it almost as a tool to get more opportunities, and I just don't like it. So, yeah, I just feel like if he would focus on fighting, he's such a talented fighter. He would be able to, kind of break the evolution of where the game is right now. Because basically all it is just stand up, kick each other in the leg, and then if you can't do that, take the guy down and see if you're good at. I really don't see a lot of high level stand up. So I do agree with him where he has the perfect ticket to be able to to be able to be the best UFC fighter possibly all time. But he really just his career went off because he got successful in boxing. So unfortunately, yeah, he's just using these things the wrong way. And I wish he would just get back to fighting the sport the way it needs to be fought. But
Yeah.
great up to Dustin doing things the right way
Yeah.
and getting the real victory.
Big up to him. Yep. Hey, Rob, I got to go shame, and I'll tell you why. All right. Everything you said, some of the antics are part of the game. I get that. But talking about someone changing camps, that's part of the game. Talking about how someone sucks, that's part of the game. Talking about, how someone lives their lifestyle, their fat, the way they eat. There are certain things where it seems like everything is free game. But when you start talking about people's wives, right? You start talking about people's religion. You start talking about people's thing. And then you say, like his supporters, especially his supporters, say that's part of the game. If you can't take it, don't be in the fight and this and that. Now, at the same time, if that's part of the game, if someone wants to be a sore winner about it, and I hate sore winners. I live in California. Trust me, I know a sore winner when I see one. But if somebody wants to put a little extra sauce on the end of it because you were being an idiot, you can't play the victim. You can't play the victim. You can't do this and say it's part of the game and then play the victim when it comes back to you and literally bites you in the ankle in Conor McGregor's case. So that's my sentiments and thoughts on that. Rob, topic 2, to shame or not to shame. Having Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman, Teddy Atlas, and Ryan Clark as analysts and table people for UFC 264. Rob, to shame or part of the game?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's shameful, but if those are the two choices, then I'd probably go shame because, Teddy Atlas, one of my favorite boxing analysts, but he's a boxing analyst. Stephen A. Smith is a TV personality. Max Kellerman is the same, also a boxing somewhat analyst, somewhat enthusiast, but more of a boxing announcer. And then you have Ryan Clark, who's an ex-football player. These guys know absolutely nothing about MMA. And I'm not saying I know anything about MMA, but what are they going to give me? You got you look at, the football channel, they got ex-football players or people that are talking about football. You got, football, the NFL Live. You don't see an MMA fighter on, NFL Live, maybe as a guest, but not as an analyst. So that's just absolute shame that they couldn't garner up some other, analyst that knew something. I mean, just get 4 fighters out of the freak that have just fought. That'll be a better analyst than these 4 guys. No offense, but all they could talk about is mentality and things that are similar to their sport. They cannot talk about this sport at a high level.
Nice. Rob, I gotta go with I think it's like you said, if I had to actually choose one or the other, because both are true. But for me, I gotta go shame. I gotta go shame because, look, Stephen A. Smith is a TV personality and he has a huge following. Max Kellerman, also a TV personality, huge following. Teddy Atlas is to be respected. Ryan Clark is no longer an NFL guy in my opinion. He's an NFL analyst, but the operative word is still NFL. All right, look, when you have the first take and they talk about basketball, they're going to have Kendrick Perkins. They're going to have Big Perk on the show. They're going to have Swagoo for, when they talk about the Dallas Cowboys. When you're talking about MMA and on First Take or some of these shows, why not have Chael Sonnen? Why not have Gilbert Melendez? Why not have Daniel Cormier, who's an excellent personality? As far as like a guy that doesn't fight, why not have Errol Hawani, who's not one of my favorite guys, but he always tells the truth. You know what I'm saying? He's kind of a weasel a little bit to me. But I'm like, why am I listening to Stephen A. Smith and not Errol Hawani? Why am I not listening to why am I listening to Ryan Clark, who I respect? He did talk about mentality and if they ask him, he's not going to pick up the phone and say no. He's going to pick up the phone and say yes. But I thought the ESPN dropped the ball on this because I knew they were trying to bring as many heads to this fight as they could. But something that they failed to realize is that Conor was bringing the heads on their own. Celebrities were not at that match to watch Stephen A. Smith talk about it. Celebrities didn't pay. That gate didn't sell for like $60.7 million. All right, because they knew that Stephen A. or Max Kellerman or Teddy Atlas were going to talk about it. You could have given some MMA guys a chance to shine. Those guys shine under Connor's, rising tide that lifts all ships. Then all of a sudden, people are going to watch them talk about MMA, or going to want to watch future matches that may not be Conor McGregor. So it didn't hurt ESPN, but it did hurt MMA a little bit to not have some of their guys in. Okay, good. You had Dominic Cruz, you had Daniel Cormier. Good. You're supposed to have those people. Where was Chael Sonnen? If they want a personality, where the hell was Chael Sonnen? Where was Ariel Helwani? Where was thank God Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's like the exception that rewrites the rule. Joe Rogan's is a color analyst that has never set foot in the cage. You know what I'm saying? This is why when everybody's
But he trains a lot.
Yeah.
And he trains around a lot of fighters, and he's around that environment a lot. And again, I'm not saying that's not at least that. At least somebody who can talk about what jiu-jitsu. Like if it goes to the ground, what are any of those four guys going to talk about?
Cormier always says he gets an education from Joe. When they talk about that. I mean, I think it's the same thing with me in volleyball. Like I said, I think I could be the Joe Roganist or whatever. It's not because I've won an AVP and not because I've never set foot on the sand, though I did. 2016, I played him in the Manhattan Open. There's a person in a situation like, is this guy the best guy for the job or not? Is this guy the best job for the guy or not? And they said yes to Joe. Because it's true. And the only reason why I bring him up, because I think more sports need to do that instead of just going with the guy who has a journalism degree for play-by-play and going with the guy who can only see the sport as a pure player or someone that's in. I mean, I think it's fine. I don't think you lose with those, but they're levels. It's just like a good coach, right? Like a player who retires that turns into a coach. They're never going to hurt your game. There's just levels to how much they can help. Can they help this much? Or can they help that much? And I guess that's, to quote Forrest Gump, that's all I want to say about that. And we move on to our next topic. Quick question. I know that karaoke's back, Rob. Rob, quick question. Should Herb Dean have stopped O'Malley's fight against Martino? Earlier?
Hard to say, but I'd say no, just because it's hard to know. It's really hard to know.
I say no, he stopped the fight exactly when he was supposed to. So to anyone that thought it was an early stoppage, no. To anyone that thought it was too late, no. He stopped the fight. The best guy in the business. Of course, he makes mistakes. I get that, but I thought he did really well. Quick question. Tuivas's KO of Greg Hardy. Doing the shoey, thumbs up or thumbs down.
Hey,
that's got to be the most disgusting thing I've ever seen.
Tuivasa, do your thing.
I guess, yes, you're right. Come on, I'm such a hater. Hater J, man, in the house. Quick question. The All-Star Games today, Major League Baseball, who wins, National League or American League?
National League.
I go American. Quick question. Which NBA finalist has the better starting five, the Bucks or the Suns?
Starting five? I'll go Bucks.
Yeah, I'll go Suns. And it's crazy because they both have a good bench. So, yeah. Quick question. Will Djokovic break Federer or Nadal's record for most Grand Slams? Right now, he's tied them with a win at Wimbledon.
Definitely.
I think he breaks it as early as the U.S. Open. I think he's on a roll, man. Quick question. Can Serena win another Grand Slam before she retires?
Yes. But, it's going to be a while.
I say no. I say no. And Serena, I apologize. I'm not trying to be one of them doubters. I would be happy to be wrong about this one. But for now, I say no. Quick question. Nigeria beats the U.S. national team. Are they in trouble or just warming up?
They're in trouble. It's always bad when that happens.
I think they're in trouble too because everybody's saying the NBA doesn't need to send their best to win the Olympics, and clearly we're wrong about that. We made that mistake in 2004, and if we don't learn from history, history will repeat itself. That was the other quick question. Do we need our very best to win gold? Yes or no? Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, very best of who's going to show.
Yeah.
There's a lot of injured players out there right now.
And last quick question: Tyron Woodley against Paul.
Oh man, probably yeah. I mean, Woodley, I would like to win. I think Paul's probably a dangerous guy, but Woodley might get beat up a little bit, but I think he's gonna win it.
I think Woodley is going to win because Woodley only shies in the corner with guys that he think can take him down. Right. If you look at as far back as Rory McDonald, right, he never got off because he knows Rory can take him down. Kobe Covington, same thing. Bashful, Kamaru Usman, Gilbert Burns, like all of his key losses. And you've never seen anyone hit him hard enough to knock him out. The last time you saw that was Nate Marquardt, and that was a combination of things. The knee to the body is always going to be harder than the shot to the body, okay? Knees to the head, right? What, 3, I don't know the science behind that, but 5 times more, whatever, and this and that. So, yep. Guys, that concludes a quick question. So now before we go, I just want to say something really quick. If I compliment somebody, it's not a slap in the face to the other. Like we made a comparison last week between who's the better player to come out of USC, between Tina Gradina and Kelly Clays or whatever. And I only got the question because everyone kept asking me, was it Sarah Hughes or Kelly Clays, right? And I'm like, what about this girl? These are fun things to talk about. So my praise for someone else, one person, is not a disrespect to everybody else, okay? And I have to say that to my volleyball personalities because next to NBA stars, you are the most sensitive cats on the face of the planet. So get over it. Man up, On this day, Johnny Bench, Hank Aaron, Roberto Clemente, Reggie Jackson, Frank Robinson, and Harmon Killebrew hit home runs in the All-Star game at Tiger Stadium. The score was 6-4, and like seven of those 10 points were home runs. So, or 7 of those or whatever.
Who was pitching? My goodness.
Yeah, well, yeah, All-Star game. I mean, yeah, God, when you got the lineup, man, you got the cleanup guy hitting ninth in the lineup. The pitchers must be scared to death.
6-4, that's not bad.
Also on this day, 1994, O.J. Simpson was officially charged with the brutal murder of Anna Nicole Simpson and Goldman. I don't know. I don't know the first name. I think it was Ronald Goldman, or maybe that was the father. Also on this day, Nolan Ryan lost a note. It was Nolan Ryan and who else was it? Sorry, I thought I had it. It doesn't matter. Nolan Ryan lost a no-hit bid in the 9th inning. Him and another pitcher, I think, were playing, pitching against each other, and they were both holding a no-hitter to the 9th inning, and they both lost it. So, just a little tidbit about in this day in sports. But I'm really, man, I love this sports debate, and I love talking about some of these subjects. And I know sometimes we got to talk about volleyball, but when it's interesting, you can't avoid it.
No.
I guess by the time we get to our next episode, Rob, we're not gonna we'll have an NBA champ, we'll have an Olympic gold medalist, and all of the wheelhouses we follow, albeit basketball, indoor and beach volleyball, and it's gonna be fun, man. Guys, we're gonna be gone for a couple of weeks. We're going to New York. We're going to Atlantic City. We got work and play. But before we go, Rob has something to say before we leave.
Stay happy, stay healthy, y'all.
Stay happy, stay healthy, says Rob. Keep it McLean. And for me, I guess, yeah, okay, yeah, be happy, be healthy. I guess I like it too, okay? Fine, we're out of here. For all of you at home, for all of you on your iPad, for all of you on your iPhone or Droid, for all of you on your desktop, for Rob, keep it McLean. This is episode 69 of Sports Debate Tuesday. See you guys in a bit, man. We love you to pieces. Peace out. Come check out the Option Podcast on OptionVB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.